So, boys, the news broke last week. It broke on this show, actually, that Tyson Fury has decided to retire. And whilst my immediate response is, who cares? And then, if he has, up and onward we go. What was your reaction, Johnny, to that? Do you subscribe to the view that, A, we should be talking about it endlessly and giving him the attention that he wants, and B, that we should be desperately pining for him to come back in, and C, is he actually going to come back in?
Well, I think he wanted B, for us all desperately pining for him to come back and say, no, please don't do it. First thing I thought was the boy that cried wolf. Second thing, it reminded me of when I ran away from home twice and got to the end of the street. My mum said, yeah, go on, crack on, go. She knows I'm going anywhere. And that's how Frank and that's how Eddie's response and everybody else and Spencer Brown's response to him saying that, they've said, yeah, well, good on him. They know how to deal with this young child. This is what they're doing. They're dealing with him. He ain't going anywhere because there is far too much money on the table for him to walk away from the AJ fight, number one. Number two, you know, today I'm retired, I'm done. The day after, I want $500 million. So he's not even playing a good game of poker. You know it's about trying to up the price. And I think Eddie, love him or loathe him, predicted that weeks before. So I don't believe him.
Yeah, I mean, put aside whether we believe him or not, and we think he's pulling the strings of people that are probably quite bright about how to deal with the situation, knowing that ultimately there's enough money on the table to draw him back, irrespective of what he does and doesn't want. When you look back at his legacy, because a lot of people talked about, I had a bit of a debate with Frank Warren the other day about his legacy, and Frank doesn't listen, he only listens to what he wants to say. I think there's no doubt that Tyson Fury has a legacy, but when you look back on it, given the fact that in the last year, we look at, or 18 months, we look at Fury fighting Derek Chisora, Dillian Whyte. I mean, the mandatory with Dillian Whyte is not his problem. It's not his, it's not his fault. But then Ngannou, and then of course 2 losses over Usyk in the last couple of years. When you look back at his legacy, Johnny, what do you think? Because he was a person that described himself as a generational great, the heavyweight of all heavyweights, and here we are now, looking at him perhaps slightly differently.
Okay, I'll kind of go around the house on this. When Tony Bellew boxed David Haye, he came out of a line and said his legs have gone. He's not the fighter he was. He's hustling you all. He saw something that the public didn't see until the fight came out. Tyson Fury is that fighter. Tyson Fury fought the best of what was around for him, but the latter part of his career, which is now, he's managing to hustle his way through thinking, you know what, he's not the fighter he was. And anybody that's got any honesty about them knows this Tyson Fury over the last 2 years, he ain't the fighter that he was 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So therefore, there's certain fights he can do, certain fights he can get away with, certain things he can do, because he's that good. Because he was that good. He's not the fighter he was. But the standard of opposition, he's making sure he's going to navigate his way around where he makes sure I can beat that one, I can do that, I can do as little work as possible. The time when he's had to turn back time and do what he's shown he's capable of doing was when he got in with Usyk. And that showed the test of time has caught up on him. He's got away with the for the past.
Do you think
years.
he genuinely believed he could beat Usyk when he stepped in against him?
I think the first time he did, the second time he didn't.
Right.
And the thing is, he had it back to front. The first time, if he had the same intensity, attitude, headspace in the second fight, he had that in the first fight, I think he'd have done him. I put money on it for him to win.
I sort of disagree with that.
Yeah, but the second fight, because he was scarred by the first fight, he threw 6 instinctive shots. Just 6.
But I believe...
And that means he was thinking about every shot he threw.
But Johnny, I believe he thought that he could win that fight for sure. Going into that one, he didn't mentally think like going in there. I think that he, by making those adjustments, coming in heavier, he thought, this is the way that I do it. I sort of use my weight and advantage. It didn't work to his...
Look at what he did. There was no instinctive
shots. I do believe
shots.
he believed he could win the fight.
Yeah, in his head. But how he fought. He had to. He thought about every shot. You look at a vintage version of Tyson Fury. He's not people out with an instinctive shot. Boom, boom. Let the shots go. And it got to the point where he did exactly what AJ did in the second fight.
Worried what
he
Usyk's
thought
doing.
about thinking, what should I do? I know he's capable of this. And if that ignorance, if he had that ignorance in that in the first fight, but the same intensity in the first fight, he'd have got the win.
Well, I think when the fighter gets older, though, like if you go back, I mean, we haven't even mentioned Tyson Fury's victory over Klitschko in Germany. I mean, what an achievement that was.
Well,
that
opened it up for everybody else, didn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, and that gets overshadowed a lot in his career. And you look at those trilogy with Wilder as well. You've got to accept that he is one of the generational greats of today for sure. He's lost to Usyk and Usyk only.
Absolutely.
But as you get older, your mindset, Johnny, you will know this better than anyone, but your mind changes. Like we start thinking a little bit more. It's not instinctive. You think, and when you get to that level, like Usyk is a similar age to him as well, but he doesn't think like that. He still thinks instinctively, and I think for Fury, maybe that seed of doubt creeping in just makes him think, and it's that split second is too long.
Yeah. Well, with Fury, whether he's playing hide and seek with himself or whether he has genuinely retired, and I think we all have formed a view that it's probably likely he's going to come back in. But right now, it leaves one person potentially in the lurch who's made his position quite clear, which is Anthony Joshua. When I was talking to Turki Al-Sheikhi, he had some comments to make about Joshua. Let's have a listen to what he had to say.
I want to see Joshua and Wilder now. If Tyson is not available, why not Joshua and Wilder?
Great fight.
Joshua against Wilder. Simon's alongside me, Your Excellency. What do you think of that? Anthony Joshua against Deontay Wilder. He's saying he would like to see that. Would you?
I can understand why people would want to see it. I mean, I'd like to see Joshua fight someone like Bakoli. I think there's real jeopardy in that fight. I know we've got a bet on that, Spencer, and I don't want to lose that bet. But I'd like to see Joshua fighting someone that was at the front of their career. Potentially.
Yeah, can I answer, Simon?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we finished the deal with Bakoli against the Nigerian fighters, Gogba or something like this.
Ajogba, yeah.
Ajogba, yes, we finished it. They must do it because it is mandatory for the IBF.
For the IBF,
Then, after that, we are open to see Joshua also against Bakoli. I want to see this fight, right? I want to see it, but you know where I want to see it?
In Africa.
I want to see it in Africa, yeah.
Right, Johnny, given the fact I did my very best to throw Anthony Joshua under the bus with Bakoli, and I saw your reaction when I mentioned that, what's your view on Joshua fighting Bakoli?
Risk reward, it doesn't weigh up. I don't care what AJ or Eddie's saying. The risk is far too high, the reward is far too low. And even though they're saying we'll take it here, whoever Anthony Joshua boxes, if they're still hoping upon hope of this fight with Tyson Fury that comes to fruition, he needs to be mindful and careful who they get.
Johnny, the landscape has changed though. When we're talking about it, we're now talking about Riyadh season. Yeah, Turki Al-Sheikh.
Turki wants it,
and if he wants it and he wants to recreate something that happened in Africa many years ago, what was it? How many years ago? 40 years ago. Rumble in the Jungle. They're going to go to the same arena, and that was the last fight that they had.
And
there.
I don't disagree with you.
And he's talking about that. Bakoli would fit the bill for that.
And Bakoli
would. Of course he would.
But I don't disagree with you. But I'm telling you now, that is a fight that AJ, his team, and Eddie will not want to do. Yeah. If they've got to do it because Turkey's doing it, they're going to be dragging their feet, mate. But I'm telling you now, when I saw that showmance of them doing their head-to-head at the ringside event, I just thought it doesn't mean diddly.
But AJ has publicly said that he would have that fight with Bakoli, and it's all about creating history and going back to the where that great fight happened.
Yeah, Spence,
I believe he'll.
If you're put a question to somebody, there's not going to be a boxer that's going to tell, "I won't fight him."
Yeah. But you would tell the different route. You talk like Deontay Wilder for Anthony Joshua right now. For me, is a given because Deontay Wilder is. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, so is Anthony Joshua, a shell of his former self, but Deontay Wilder has deteriorated seriously, and I don't think the fight is as nearly as good as it was.
But why do you think? I mean, I'm with Johnny, and that's why I put a bet with you last week, which you're going to pay out on, by the way, despite your best intentions to get out of it, which is all a camp of paying bets, right? But you seem to be adamant that this fight, it makes no sense to me. There's too much risk for Anthony Joshua. He gets cleaned out by Bakoli. He's got nowhere to go.
Totally understand
nowhere to go.
Totally understand that, but at some point the fight has to happen, and that is the fight.
Well, it doesn't, does it?
Happens.
Why does it have to happen?
Why does it have to happen?
I've just got one question. Why has everybody forgot about Daniel Dubois? Why is nobody talking about, well, what about...
we're going to talk about him, don't worry about that.
Why is AJ not saying, or Eddie trying to push for that? Why all of a sudden that injury, what stopped the rematch straight away, is all of a sudden all right for fighting somebody else?
I agree. I mean, to make Johnny's point, it doesn't make any sense for him to fight Daniel Dubois because he knows he's got a challenge with that. Or his team, I think Freddie Cunningham, those guys didn't want him in with that fight.
Where would you go if you was Anthony Joshua then? Where would you go next?
Well, you know where he's going to go.
I'm asking you, where would you do it? If he was looking after him,
it depends what you want from it.
That's a weak answer.
No, it's not. I'll qualify the answer. Depends what you want from it. If your desire is to win a world title again, or if it's to get paid, if your desire is to get paid, right, then all roads lead to making sure that Fury's back in the ring with you, and that's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
If your desire is, I cannot live with the fact that I walked into an arena with 96,000 fans waiting to anoint me, and I got knocked on my arse and I got battered around a ring from round 1 to round 5, you're going to start picking fights that get you back to fight for a world title.
He also talked about his desire of creating history and going back to, relive history, like out in Africa. And he mentioned that is a fight that he would
but I think
take.
you're being sentimental.
Yeah, listen, I love AJ.
Yeah.
I love AJ, but you've got to call BS when it's BS, man. It's
where do you think you guys?
You know what? Again, all roads lead to Tyson Fury. That's what it is. And he's got to think, whoever he boxes, looking at his past performance, you don't know which AJ is going to turn up. So there's a big risk. So even getting in with Wilder, even though Wilder looks as fragile as hell, there's a risk there. But he should take Wilder out.
Right,
so you've got to be smart and think, right, we've got to calculate this, because if you lose to anybody else, that rainbow's gone.
But if he goes in against Wilder, which is what Turki Al-Sheikh has indicated he wants to make, right? And we all know, when we listen to the conversations, we see Turki Al-Sheikh basically dictating to whoever he's talking to, whether it's Frank or Eddie, this is what happens, and off they scurry to make it happen. Right? I don't look at the Wilder fight. I think if Anthony Joshua were to go against Wilder and not deal with him and clean him out, I think it would be ridiculous. We've seen Zhilei Zhang do it. We've seen Joseph Parker do it. If Anthony Joshua can't do it, then there's nothing left of Anthony Joshua. But I don't see that fight as having the same appeal to me. Wilder is like Prince, the artist formerly known as Prince. This is the fighter formerly known as Deontay Wilder. And I don't want to be disrespectful, because I
totally agree with you,
what you boys do.
I totally agree with you.
But you've got to call it for what it is. It isn't.
I totally agree with you. That's
Wilder
why I'm talking about Bacoli over Wilder. I go, Wilder, I don't really want to see that fight. I went, but Bacoli is obviously a challenge, and there's history with that as well. Anyway, now I'll put this one out to you both, yeah? Do we get Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury next? Is that a likely fight that could happen? Forget with Tyson Fury being momentarily retired.
Yeah, it is,
Yeah, it is.
I'm with that as well.
I don't believe Tyson Fury. I don't believe this showmance we're seeing with AJ wanting to fight Bacoli, who's in the Who Needs Him club. Nobody's mentioned AJ fighting, doing the rematch with the IBF champion Dubois. So obviously, this is smoke and mirrors.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.